part of me that I kind of lost was kind of like that spark, I guess, of like, hopefulness of like chasing my dreams and stuff. Because coming back home, dealing with this diagnosis, it's really like paused everything for me, and it's a big financial hit. Hey guys, my name is Nevin. I live in Ceres, California, and I was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2024. My cancer journey has been very eventful in the sense that I've been doing a lot more visits to the hospital than I would normally like to do. It's just been, a wild, wild ride. Just like being diagnosed this young has just been crazy for me and my family, and just like going through everything has been hell of an experience.
28 years old, diagnosed with stage 4 blood cancer. It sounds weird saying it out loud, but like that's actually what's happening right now.
Right after my 28th birthday, I started getting this really bad cough. It's starting to evolve into like these mini cough attack episodes. I would be coughing so hard, sometimes I can't breathe. Sometimes I would cough so hard I'll literally throw up just because of like suffocation or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's not normal. And I just thought maybe it's like because I was smoking weed at the time, so I thought maybe I'm just smoking too much weed. I should stop. So then I stopped, and then like it stayed, like the cough stayed with me even though it's been like 2-3 months at this point. And then now the next symptom that I got was itchiness, like extreme itchiness. My body felt like there was like bugs crawling under my skin. The doctor sent me to the dermatologist, and the dermatologist pretty much said like, oh, you have eczema. And I was like, that's kind of weird because I never had like issues like this before with like super dry itchy skin, and it was just mainly on my legs. It was everywhere, but like my legs, especially at night, was like the worst part of it. And so they gave me some cream. I tried it for a couple weeks, nothing worked. And then even for the cough, they told me I had asthma. And I was like, okay, like I went my whole life, 28 years, never having an asthma episode ever. Now all of a sudden I have asthma. Like, okay, something's weird over there. So then those were the two things they were trying to convince me I had for the longest time. Just you have asthma, you have eczema. That's why you're experiencing these symptoms. It wasn't until like October at this point. It was like a day before my best friend's wedding. I found a big lump on my neck. Like I got out of the shower and I looked in the mirror and I just saw this huge lump, and I thought like, wait, is my head on like crooked or something? Am I not doing this right? And I was just looking in the mirror, and then like I touched it and it was like super hard. I'm like, what is this? And I showed it to my girlfriend, and she's like, yeah, that's not normal. So we should probably get that looked at before the wedding. So we went to the urgent care. The urgent care doctor was really nice. His name is Lucas, Dr. Lucas. Shout out to you. He pretty much was like, he saw the lump right away, and he was like, okay, I think I know what it is, but I need to do something else first. And then I was like, okay, what do you got to do? He had like his assistant come in. He's like, can we make this a teaching moment? And I'm like, what do you mean a teaching moment? He had his assistant come in, and he was like showing her like, hey, check his armpits. And then like she checked my armpit, and then she found a lump on my armpit too. And he's like, it's exactly what I thought it was. And I'm like, what did you think it was? And then he told me, he's like, I think you have Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I was like, I'd never heard of this before in my life. Like, I've never heard that term ever. So I was kind of surprised, like, what is that? And he's like, it's a cancer of the lymphatic system. Those are your lymph nodes that are super inflamed right now on your neck and your armpit. Usually when it's those two on the same side, that's when it's a huge indicator of Hodgkin's, along with your other symptoms. I was also having night sweats, fatigue, the itchiness, the cough, just like dizziness randomly. Couldn't stand inside a Target for like more than 20 minutes because I felt like I would pass out. And yeah, so from there, he sent me straight to the ER. They did a bunch of tests at the ER. And then the ER doctor pretty much was like, well, you got to do a biopsy. We can't do a biopsy for you here. You have to go see your primary, and then they have to order you one. So I was just being passed around by doctor to doctor for a couple months, just doing random tests. And then finally in November, that's when I did the biopsy surgery. They took the lymph node out of my armpit, and then they sent it to the lab, and it came back as stage 4 Hodgkin's. When the doctor told me the news, my oncologist, like, I wasn't really surprised. I was kind of like, I was actually more grateful that it was Hodgkin's rather than like an autoimmune disease or something like that, because they say Hodgkin's is more treatable form of cancer. So I figured, okay, like if I have to choose between the lesser of two evils, let me choose this one over like an autoimmune disease that could mess me up for life, potentially. I've been going to chemo every 2 weeks now. So a day in treatment, you're always kind of like kind of what's the word? Like dreading going, because like you just got done having like a good week finally after the last round, and then you just want to hang on to that good week. You go into treatment, you're feeling good, and then like as soon as you walk in, your heart starts to sink a little. You're like, all right, you gotta mentally prepare for like another week of, just feeling horrible. So you walk in. It's an hour away from me, the place I have to go to. So we have to leave pretty early in the morning. If our treatment starts at 8 a.m., we have to leave at 7. So that means wake up at like 5:30. And then pack the bags, eat a good breakfast. Make sure you're all prepared. So you go in. It takes about 6 hours. So I'm just sitting in the chair for a while. The nurses have been really nice. They've made the treatment go a lot more smooth than I like anticipated. But it's weird. It's like once they start injecting things into your chest port, like you feel it immediately. Especially with having a chest port, it's like it's your main vein next to your heart. It's the jugular, I think. So like once you start feeling the medicine go in, it's like it's such a weird feeling. Like you could literally feel it go into your stomach from this like big vein in the middle of your body. And then like I immediately just feel gross as soon as the chemo goes in. There's one of them that I don't know the name of it, but it makes you like taste metal right away, like whenever they inject it. And that one's the worst one because that one makes me like the most nauseous. So it's like they inject it and you immediately just taste it, you smell it, and it's just so weird that like these senses are tied with injecting into a vein. You know what I'm saying? And then there's another one. The side effects are like your pee turns red. And the first time that happened, I was like, "Is this normal? Like, how come nobody warned me about this?" And then, like the other side effects, you just feel sick. You feel dizzy. You don't want to get out of bed. You feel nauseous. Nothing sounds good. Food that you used to like, you don't like anymore. It's just like a horrible like 1 week, and then you have a good week, and then you're reminded again how good life is. But then you go back to that other week, and then you're like, oh wait, this kind of sucks. But yeah, it's been a rough journey though. This is just my second round of chemo. Like after the second round, it's already started falling out. I don't know. I mean, if I have to go bald, I'll go bald, but let's try to prolong it a little longer. I was living in LA the last 5 years, and I was out there. Chasing my dreams. I was working in the production industry, shooting music videos, commercials. I was also substitute teaching on the side to make extra money. So I had to like uphold my whole life in LA. I couldn't afford to go to chemo and keep paying LA rent because with chemo, you're sick for a whole week. You can't really work or anything like that for that whole week. No employer wants to hire you if you're only going to work 2 weeks out of the month on your good week. So it kind of put me in a rough spot financially just dealing with everything. I had to give up my place in LA, leave my job over there, and then move back in with my parents so that I can go through chemo and try to cushion a little bit more financially. But that's been the hardest part, honestly. Just leaving my whole life behind. I spent half a decade in LA. My formative 20s were over there, and it's just a weird transition now, moving back to my parents' house, dealing with chemo, going to like 4 different doctors, hospitals, like every 2 weeks. You got to do a blood test here, you got to do an x-ray here, you got to do this over there. It's just hopping around everywhere. And you don't really get a chance to like really just sit down and just be like, okay, like what am I going to do next after this? Because now that's another thing too. It's like I'm thinking about when this is all over, I have to restart my life somehow. And everything that I left behind, like I can't necessarily go back to it because LA is so expensive. You can't just show up again. You have to have a good amount of money and able to go over there. So that's been the hardest part, just coming to terms with that and trying to figure out what's going to be next after all of this. The most surprising thing is just you know like how it would feel to move back home. Just that's been the hardest part for me because it's like I love my parents, I love my family, but same time I've been so used to living by myself for the longest, and just like the freedoms and just yeah, LA is a lot more fun than the city that I'm in right now. Like there's way more stuff to do. Like where I come from is like these are my roots and stuff, but there's not much to do here. Like I come from like agriculture, farm town. Like there's not much to do, but it's still like where I'm from and appreciative where I'm from. But my heart was in LA for like the last half decade. So it just kind of sucks having to leave all that behind. I try to stay positive about everything that's happening, but like I guess like the bright-eyed kid that was in LA just trying to live out his dreams, work in entertainment and stuff. It's like that era, like it was something I feel like you could only do in your early 20s. And it's like once you get to the tail end of your 20s and you haven't made it financially, then you start to think like, okay, like, yeah, I love what I'm doing here, but is this the right thing for me? Like, I need to make money. I need to have a stable career. Like, you get to your 30s, like, people are talking about marriage. You're watching all your friends have kids and get married and have like good, stable jobs. Meanwhile, you're still doing what you love, like over there, but you're not making enough to live, especially in LA. So I guess like the part of me that I kind of lost was kind of like that spark, I guess, of like, hopefulness of like chasing my dreams and stuff. Because coming back home, dealing with this diagnosis, it's really like paused everything for me, and it's a big financial hit. So I don't know if after all of this, I'll even be able to move back there and continue, what I was doing. So that's just been the part that I feel like sucked the most. He's like, hey, like just so you know, there's a chance that if you do the chemotherapy that you won't be able to have kids. And then that was a big shock too. Like I don't know if I want kids or not still. I'm still kind of debating on that. But it was nice to have that option. So like kind of having that option being taken away a little bit, it's been rough as well. Just like thinking about it in the background as you live your everyday life. The doctor offered, like, if you want, you could do the fertility thing, but it's going to cost like a couple tens of thousands of dollars to like do it because insurance won't cover it because it's not like medically necessary, I guess. So that was something that I was like, man, like I can't afford that. So the doctor told me, like, honestly, just what he would do would be like just leave it up to God, leave it up to the universe, and if it's meant to be and you get through chemo and you're still able to have kids, then it's meant to be. But if not, then, what can you do? This is just the cards you were dealt in life. All you can do is just move forward. I think hope is super important. And I think hope is influenced a lot by the people you surround yourself with. If you have a good support system with you, it's easy to have hope because all these other people are hoping for you too. So that's the most important part. It really takes a village to get through something as traumatic and life-changing and altering as cancer. So as long as you have like good people around you and you're doing the things you need to do every day in order to instill that hope in yourself, like staying active, staying healthy, like looking in the mirror every day and thinking like, okay, like, yeah, this sucks, like I don't look like myself, I lost my hair, but there's a light at the end of this, and then if you can get through this, you can get through anything, let me tell you. So like I think that's important to just instill that in people and let them know like, hey, like this sucks, like, yeah, like the cards you were dealt, they were not good cards, but there's more cards coming in the next shoe. So you just got to be ready to bet again, you know on whatever comes next. Like, cancer's the devil, it is, but look how many other people are also fighting, and look how many other people are also winning in that fight. So that's what you got to focus on. And yeah, I would just leave it at that. Like, stay positive, keep your good circle around you, and try to stay active and do the things you still love. Don't let cancer define you. Like, it's not who you are. Like, who you are is the person that, like, loves to do the things that you did, So don't let cancer take anything away from you.